Everyone, I'm very happy to be joining you tonight. I'm not very happy about the content I have to bring you, but I will do it anyway because I think it's very important. It's a little bit depressing, and I hope that you guys will stick with me for this one. Hopefully I can end it on a positive note. I always try to end on a positive note because I think it's really important. There's a lot of black pilling going on out there lately. I completely understand. Things don't look great. Republicans certainly lost in the midterms, and probably they deserved it, honestly, in retrospect. But we're going to get into some of the practical application of the Biden administration's diversity, inclusion, and equity policies, also known as DIE policies. And we're going to look at what the rest of the world thinks of us right now, which is going to be illuminating, if nothing else. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Let's hop over first to this one, which is an interesting spin on what's going on with the Biden administration right now. I don't know if you guys are following it, but there is a member of the Biden administration named Sam Brinton who's in charge of nuclear waste disposal. Sam is a very interesting character. Sam prefers to dress as his idea of what a female is. I don't believe that Sam is transgender, but Sam certainly likes to revel in this idea of being or passing as a female. But I'm not even convinced of that because I'm about to show you his picture and you guys can decide for yourselves. So go ahead and look at his picture first and then we'll look at the headline because that is also very telling. So here we go. Here's Sam Brinton. This is the Biden official who is accused for the second time of theft of a woman's luggage at an airport. Now I will read this headline to you. GOP jump on Biden official Sam Brinton's second theft allegation, blames wokeness. Yes, the response, according to accuracy in media, the reaction is the story, not the story itself. So this is one of the biggest, most serious issues with the mainstream media when it comes to covering stories like this. They will not speak of the actual instance in question, but they will point out how other people are responding to it. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I don't think that that's an actual story. I think the story is that Sam Brinton is accused, probably quite credibly given how many cameras are watching you at any given time when you're in the airport, of stealing yet another person's luggage right off the carousel. So let's see what Forbes has to say about this, because I'm actually kind of curious. I will not disable my ad blocker, sorry. All right. The Biden administration has come under fire from Republican lawmakers after Energy Department official Sam Brinton, who identifies as non-binary, not trans, non-binary, was charged in 2 separate instances of stealing suitcases at U.S. airports as GOP officials blame Biden's wokeness for hiring them. Them, referring here to Sam. These are the pronouns that Sam has chosen in an effort to emphasize that Sam is non-binary. Brinton, who serves as Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Department of Energy's Office of Spent Fuel and Waste Disposition, goodness, no one's ever heard of this position till now, was charged last month with felony theft and placed on leave after police claim Brinton stole a woman's Vera Bradley suitcase at the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport in September. Brinton initially denied taking the suitcase, but later admitted mistaking it for their own. Right. From my understanding, Sam took the luggage off the carousel and put it inside another bag before quickly exiting the airport and getting into an Uber. That does not sound like someone who made a mistake when they were picking up their luggage. A felony arrest warrant was issued for Brinton on grand larceny charges on Friday after they were accused of stealing luggage at Harry Reid International Airport in Las Vegas, Nevada. In a tweet on Friday, Senator Tom Cotton called Brinton a person clearly unfit for a high-level national security role, accusing the Biden administration of hiring Brinton because it prioritizes wokeness over competence. Now, it's going to be Forbes' job to disprove this because we're going to look at this somewhat in depth and we'll see what the charges are and whether this person... let's look at this person. Do you guys think that this person was hired for the sake of inclusion and diversity? Because that's what it looks like to me. I don't know what kind of background this person has in, for example, nuclear waste disposal. I assume they have some credentials to their name. I will use their pronouns in this instance. Frustrating as it is, usually I like to refer to people by their first name if they are demanding that I use pronouns that are not in accordance with their natural biological sex as determined at birth. Not assigned at birth, determined at birth. Oh, let's finish this Forbes article. We can get through it. Rep. Troy Nehls, representative Republican from Texas, called on Brinton to be fired and then security clearance revoked immediately. I mean, can you blame him? The far-right social media account Libs of TikTok. Oh, gosh. Oh, I love Forbes. The far-right social media account Libs of TikTok, which has been accused of spreading anti-LGBTQ conspiracy theories, including the debunked furries theory that children identify as animals in school, attacked Brinton for wearing women's clothing and engaging in, quote, pup play, in addition to stealing luggage. So I don't know if you guys are following the Twitter leaks last night, the Barry Weiss thread about what was going on behind the scenes at Twitter, but it came out very clearly that Libs of TikTok was fully innocent of everything they were accused of doing. The woman behind the account was not inciting violence against anyone. They were saying it was just like a secondary effect of, for example, sharing TikTok videos that leftists made and shared to the platform TikTok itself. So this characterization is not only unnecessary, but not even fully accurate. A group of House Republicans, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, Andy Biggs, and Andrew Clyde, sent a letter on Tuesday to the Energy Department urging Brinton to resign, telling the department to set aside petty politics and appoint only the most qualified and dedicated individuals to influence America's energy sector. Well, I can 100% get behind that. I don't care what party pushes that idea. I love the concept of having someone in charge of, say, nuclear waste disposal who's fully competent at their job. I think that's very important. Oh, key background. Goodness gracious. Let's go on. We got this. Brinton, who identifies with they, them pronouns, is the first openly gender fluid employee in the federal government. According to multiple polls over the past 5 years, Americans have been divided along partisan and age lines over their acceptance of people who identify as transgender or gender fluid, with Republicans tending to favor more traditional gender-based definitions. Fine, that's fair. 2017 Pew Research poll found 32% of U.S. adults believe society's gone too far in accepting transgender people, including 57% of Republicans and 12% of Democrats. There are Democrats who believe we've gone too far with this, and I am on these people's side. So my main issue with this is not that Sam chooses to wear women's clothing. I don't really care that much what Sam chooses to wear. Admittedly, I wish that Sam would wear them on Sam's own time. I wish that Sam would not, for example, go to meetings dressed like this. This is absolutely crazy to me. Most recently, he was attending this kind of stuff grosses me out, but I'm going to tell you guys about it because I think it's relevant to the story. Sam Brinton recently gave a speech, or I believe he may have taught a course at a convention, a kink convention, and he gave his speech/course on spanking. So this is who Joe Biden chose to determine how nuclear waste is disposed of, or as like a deputy to that office. I have such a hard time reconciling why else they would hire someone who dresses and peacocks in this manner, if not to check a diversity and inclusion box. I don't see it. I don't see that you can paint this picture any other way. There is absolutely no need for any member of any governmental institution to dress in this manner. If you want to in your own free time, that's a different story entirely. But when you look at somebody like Sam, who do you think China and Russia are looking at when they look to the US? They're looking at Rachel Levine. They're looking at Sam Brinton. And they're looking at Joe Biden, and they're saying these people are weak, looking at Biden. They are confused, looking at Rachel Levine. And they are, I don't even know, they are flagrant looking at Sam Brinton. Because what else can you conclude? I was reading articles earlier today about how Russia is delighted to make more prisoner swaps with the U.S. moving forward. And we're going to talk about Brittney Griner in just a minute, but I can't help feeling that, remember when they said that Donald Trump was making the US look bad to the rest of the world. No one will admit this now, but Joe Biden has actually turned the US into a laughingstock. And this is a little bit of a black pill for me because I've never liked the government, but I've always cared very deeply about the US as a whole. I've always considered myself patriotic. My husband is an anarchist. I am not. I really do care about the country as a whole. I care about the American people. I care about our traditions. I care about our founding fathers and our history. I cared very much about our military, especially when I lived in Colorado Springs. I thought they played a crucial role in keeping the world safe and prepared for attacks from people like Russia. And now I can't help feeling that the world has lost respect for America. From my understanding, I believe it was MSNBC who changed an article that was talking about how the U.S. had an option to choose either Paul Whelan or Brittany Griner, and they actively chose Brittany Griner. They changed their article to say that they were given only the option to release Brittany or no one, which is also something that the White House repeated. We're going to look at a White House press conference transcript and see why exactly they chose to go for Brittany Griner. So let's just talk about that next, because this is incredibly frustrating to me, and I'm very sorry that we're in this situation in the first place, but apparently this is what the American people wanted, so here we are. We're just going to read this excerpt from Karine Jean-Pierre, and I believe this is from earlier today. As the president said this morning, he will never stop working to secure Paul's release and return home. That is Paul Whelan, the U.S. Marine who is in Russia in prison, I believe also for marijuana possession. And he will not give up on it. Oh, no. He's in jail for, the Russians are saying that he's in jail for espionage. Mark Vogel was in jail for marijuana possession for a bad back injury. And he will not give up. On a personal note, Brittany is more than an athlete, more than an Olympian. She is an important role model and inspiration to millions of Americans, particularly the LGBTQI plus Americans and women of color. She should never have been detained by Russia, and I am, deeply proud of the work that the president has done, this administration has done to get her home. So, I think that it bears pointing out that Karine Jean-Pierre was touted as the first black female homosexual, I believe, member, the first press secretary with those credentials. Now, I don't know if you've seen Karine Jean-Pierre in action, but not only does she look miserable, she does not have answers to the questions that are presented to her by the press corps, as she should. This is the job of the press secretary, and she understood that going in. But again, we are looking at diversity hire after diversity hire, and Karine Jean-Pierre is no exception to this rule. She was hired for her physical characteristics, and she was hired to check a box, just like Sam Brinton was, just like Brittany Griner was brought home. And this has been frustrating me endlessly since yesterday, and I really didn't want to talk about it because everyone else was talking about it yesterday, but with the Sam Brinton news, I think this 100% deserves to be talked about. So let's look at what Russia thinks about what we've done here. Hopefully you guys can hear this. I'll double check, try to make sure. Let me check my comments and chats before I get this going on here. All right, let me turn this volume up so that I can hear it. Boot was exchanged for Griner and not Whelan. First of all, I congratulate Boot and his entire family. For many years, we've been in touch with his family and with him personally to the extent it was possible. We communicated with him to the extent that we could. Of course, this is a huge joy and relief for all of us in Russia. I can't even imagine what this means to his family. Sure. But he was not exchanged for the heroic spy. And this lady is laughing at us here, and I don't blame her. She is noting that Victor Bout, who was dubbed the Merchant of Death, from my understanding, if I'm recalling correctly, I have a hard time with these names. This person was not exchanged for the American spy. This is what they're holding Paul Whelan for, because he was a military member. Somehow they got a hold of him. He's been in jail in Russia for the past 2 years. She's pointing out the discrepancy in the trade. We traded a world-class arms dealer for a WNBA player who, as she points out, could not be apart from her marijuana. That is why she was arrested. But I'll let her speak. I'll translate, or I'll read it for you guys. He was not exchanged for the heroic spy because he is a spy. Whelan is a spy. He was apprehended while receiving information on a flash drive. Okay. He said he was supposed to get photos of churches in Sergiev Posad on the flash drive. You send church photos to a WhatsApp, right? Okay, fine. That's where we get them. Look where I've been. You don't get a flash drive brought to you for that. Sure, fine. Quality would be decent, no worse than on a flash drive. He is a spy, therefore to them he is a hero. He was a decorated Marine covered in medals. He has 1, no 2, no 3 problems. His first problem is that he is white. His second problem is that he's a man. The third problem, he is a heterosexual. This is not something that can be forgiven today. It is just a catastrophe. Yes, here Griner beats him in every aspect. American voters, she's wrong about this. American voters were given a choice. A hero who suffered while serving his fatherland. A medal-covered hero who suffered during his service to his fatherland, the United States. Or a black lesbian hooked on drugs, her words, not mine, who suffered for a vape with hashish, and well known for the sake of PR. American voters are choosing the obvious. I think that for us, it's one more piece of good news. The first good news is that Boot has returned, and the second good news is that a nation that spits on its heroes to the extent that it considers it significantly more important to free a rightfully charged, well-known athlete. She didn't suffer because she served her motherland, but because she couldn't live for 10 hours without hashish. Instead of freeing the person in prison for 2 years for serving his motherland, this says a lot about the state of this society. It does. Of these intelligence agencies. Sure does. And everything related to geopolitical confrontation. I cannot disagree with this woman. I don't know if she knows this, but we didn't vote on this. This is not something that American citizens actually had much of a say in, but she may simply be making the case that Americans apparently voted for Joe Biden, 81 million votes, I'm told, and this is the result. And this is exactly what we were asking for, and it's exactly what we got. And I can't say she's wrong. Can you? Because I think that this is exactly what the rest of the world sees. And I've never been more embarrassed to be an American than I am right now with the Biden administration, which really says something because Trump was plenty embarrassing in plenty of different ways. He was bloviating, blowhard. He said lots of wild things. He said, grab him by the, kitty cat or whatever locker room talk they thought they had on him. But this is serious business, and this is, you guys know that this never would have happened with Trump, right? You know that he would have threatened to nuke Moscow or something over this, because from my understanding, he actually did make a passing comment about possibly nuking some of these main centers. I think he was talking to China and he's like, oh, I'll nuke Beijing or something. I just remember him talking so hyperbolically about this stuff, and I was like, that's crazy. He would never do any of that stuff. But the rest of the world leaders didn't know that. They said things like, this man is crazy. You better do what he says. You better work with him. You better comply with him. This is why Donald Trump was in North Korea and Joe Biden has not been. This is why he actually made inroads, because that is how you're supposed to conduct foreign policy. You are supposed to act as if you have a huge threat at your behest. You are supposed to behave as if you're more than willing to use all of the tools available to your disposal. You need to make it look like you have a strong leg to stand on even when you don't. And what we've done here is just appear so weak. And a lot of people like to point out, they like to make the case that Paul Whelan was convicted of some crime when he was in the military. And I would just like to point this out because I found this fascinating too. One of the things that nobody's mentioning thus far is that Brittney Griner was convicted of domestic abuse. She sought counseling for it in 2015. And in my mind, that makes her completely level with Paul Whelan in that she had a conviction for a crime. Fine, whatever. We all make mistakes, etc. Who really cares? I don't know why American leadership thought it would be a better exchange for a man who ran incredible numbers of guns to incredible numbers of countries and was responsible for the death of many, many, many people. Why they thought it would be fitting to exchange that man for this woman. The only thing I can come up with is that is how seriously they believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I find that to be incredibly distressing. But I am not giving up on the US, and I don't think you guys should either. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news today. Unfortunately, there was a lot of it in the news. There was a lot going on with Twitter as well that I chose to focus on this instead of the Twitter stuff, although I will mention in passing the one thing I found out about the Twitter thing in just a little bit. But I am going to encourage you guys to really recognize that America has intrinsic worth, and I think that the power of the U.S. cannot be underestimated despite whatever this administration chooses to do. And I'm really going to encourage you guys to keep that in mind as we move forward, because it's just nothing but distraction to be like, hey, we're going to bring this person in. They are in need of our help more than others. First of all, we know that's incredibly condescending to be like, oh, well, you need help more than a white man because a white man has got it all figured out. You don't. You're a minority. You're a woman. You are a whatever, what have you, fill in the blank, prosecuted group. And I think that when you do that, you're putting people, we already know that when you do that, you put people in the mindset that they need that kind of help when they truly don't. Well, they might. Once you tell them that for long enough, they probably will need that kind of assistance. But I think that I'm just depressing myself at this point, because where with the Trump administration, we saw what it looked like when we reduced some of this regulation. We saw what happened when we fully stood behind our military and had a strong foreign policy. We looked at North Korea and we saw all of these different, we saw all these breakthroughs with like Saudi Arabia and Israel and all this stuff. And it's just so distressing to see that all go to waste. And people give Trump a hard time. They're like, you can't, he couldn't even drain the swamp. Well, he went into the swamp with a business mindset. He went into it with the understanding that if he just treated the government like a business, like his private sector business, he could just go in like Elon Musk is doing and fire everybody who wasn't necessary. Well, he was wrong about that, and it came back to haunt him for sure. I do feel like he did his best, but every single person was in the permanent state was working against him. This we know. And as a result, he was not able to achieve as much as he hoped to. And as soon as he left, all of that was immediately overturned. I don't know if you guys remember when Joe Biden sat down with a stack of executive orders on his first day in office and made it so that nothing Donald Trump had done would stick around. Genuinely distressing, but that is apparently the way it is. I just wanted to pass on to you guys before I close that Donald Trump, Elon Musk was engaged in an active discussion with some ladies who announced openly that they are quitting Twitter in protest of his policies. So let's look at that. This is from Ann Collier. 3 of us resigned from Twitter's Trust and Safety Council today. Erlani, Podesta_Leslie, and me. Here's why. And Mike Cernovich comments, you belong in jail, because he cites an article saying Twitter refused to remove child porn because it didn't violate their policies. Elon Musk replies, it is a crime that they refused to take action on child exploitation for years. And then I responded, and he responded to me. I pointed out Leslie Podesta, resigning as listed in this tweet from Twitter, is John Podesta's niece, Democrat Deputy Chief of Staff. And Elon Musk responded, small world, and it certainly is. It looks like there's a lot of corruption here that no one is really addressing, because it looks like the Democrats were all in Twitter, and Twitter was turning a very blind eye to child sexual exploitation for years. They were told there was nothing that could be done about it. So I just wanted to close on that note, depressing as it is. I am so glad that Elon Musk is having a much better time draining the swamp at Twitter than Donald Trump did draining the swamp in DC. I'm optimistic that he will continue this because I called him the white Nick Cannon, I believe. I think he has 6 children with 4 different women, and he firmly believes in repopulating the earth. Now, he doesn't believe in families as such, as I wish he would, but he has so many kids that he has to understand how important it is that he takes action on this. And I'm not just making this up about Leslie Podesta. She said herself on her own Twitter in 2018 that John was her uncle, in the context of a podcast about John Podesta in DC. So it's disturbing to see, but at the same time, it's great that light is being brought to this, and I'm very happy for that. And as I was saying earlier, I hope that you guys can maintain a patriotic spirit and understand that what we fight for is not administrations. We're not on the side of the Biden administration. We know that. They're weakening us on the world stage as we speak. But we're on the side of the people who live here and the values we stand for, because those things transcend every administration we've ever had. Good people, normal people, real people, people with their quirks and foibles and shortfalls are what truly makes America great. The generosity of the American spirit, the fact that Americans are hospitable to a fault, the fact that Americans are the single largest group to give to any charity, I believe, in the world ever, is just truly inspiring. This is what I truly love about America, and it's much more important to focus on that than it is to get fixated on short-term issues like Sam Brinton and how Sam chooses to dress and what Sam chooses to do in Sam's free time, and to focus on the positive aspects of life as an American and to really push that home, because that's a very important thing to remember right now, because the world does look pretty dark despite Sam's bright clothing and luggage. So I will wrap it up there. Let me see if I have any super chats. I'm not sure if I do. I get so distracted by the chat. You guys have such interesting things to say. Non-binary person steals 10 suitcases. No, it looks like he only stole 2. My husband and I always enjoy your take on things. Keep on doing this good work. Also, if you have time, look into the Pritzker family in connection with Project Veritas drop. Interesting. Well, thank you very much for your encouragement. I appreciate that. I remember when that guy was being championed as a hero because he was pro-nuclear. Yeah, that's kind of interesting that he was pro-nuclear. Good for him, honestly. That's a little bit of truth I can take from Sam Brinton. But at the same time, if Sam was hired for diversity, then it basically nullifies his knowledge, which is kind of disturbing to think about, because someone can bring this good knowledge to the table, but if they're hired because, like Ketanji Brown Jackson, she was hired to be the first Black woman on the Supreme Court, and she's very accomplished from what I can tell. I don't think she's very smart based on her recent ideas, but she was 100% a diversity hire when she had accomplished more than people were giving her credit for, and I don't think that's fair. That's part of the reason I don't think diversity hires are fair. Can we refer to him as it? You may not, but you may refer to Sam Brinton as Sam. He did steal another bag. That's correct. Someone says, yeah, he's up to 10 now if you count the base too. From my understanding, he's only stolen 2, but I could be wrong. You guys are more than welcome to fact check me. Somebody's laughing at the description of libs of TikTok as far right. Yeah. Imagine typing normies and hitting send. It could not be me, honestly. Almost every truck driver has heard of the Department of Energy, just not exactly. Lots of hazmat truck drivers who try to stay away from Nevada and Arizona. Interesting. All right, let's see here. Humiliating Americans. Yeah, it really feels like that. And that's why my tone today is a little bit down. And plus, it's Friday night. Everybody's out partying. I don't blame you guys for enjoying yourselves. Hopefully, you guys aren't thinking about politics like I was today. I was doing housework and thinking about politics, which made for not the most uplifting day in the world. The Americans did choose by electing Biden. Yeah, that's kind of what I said. It's like with gas prices. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. Let's see. The Little Mermaid was helped by Ursula, the former defense minister. The mermaid had her voice taken from her. I'm not sure about that. Twitter Files number 3 is happening now. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Let's go see who's doing it. Is it Matt Taibbi? No, I'm just curious about that. Let's see where we at. We might do a little impromptu rundown. Oh my gosh, cool. Okay, this is a little more uplifting. Let's talk about this. We've already got some going on. Thread, the Twitter Files, the removal of Donald Trump. Dun dun dun. Part 1, October 2020 through January 6th. Oh boy, what happened then? The world knows much of the story of what happened between riots at the Capitol on January 6th and the removal of President Donald Trump from Twitter on January 8th. We'll show you what hasn't been revealed, the erosion of standards within the company in months before January 6th, decisions by high-ranking executives to violate their own policies, and more against the backdrop of ongoing documented interaction with federal agencies. This is exactly what I'm talking about, and this is what no one on the left seems prepared to accept. Federal agencies were working hand in glove with these big tech agencies. This is what the Intercept was talking about. Lee Fong was talking about it. Ken Klippenstein wrote about it. Great article. Check it out. Truth Cops, horrible title, great article. We'll show you what hasn't been revealed. Okay, yep, erosion of standards. This first installment covers the period before the election through January 6th. Tomorrow, Michael Schellenberger, oh my gosh, I love that guy. Schellenberger, MD, not medical doctor, will detail the chaos inside Twitter on January 7th. On Sunday, Barry Weiss will reveal the secret internal communications from the key date of January 8th. Whatever your opinions on the decision to remove Trump that day, the internal communications at Twitter between January 6th and January 8th have a clear historical import. Even Twitter's employees understood in the moment it was a landmark moment in the annals of speech. Let's see. Is this the first sitting head of state to ever be suspended? Yeah, so they knew how historic this was. As soon as they finished banning Trump, Twitter execs started processing new power. They prepared to ban future presidents and White Houses, perhaps even Joe Biden. The new administration, says one exec, will not be suspended by Twitter unless absolutely necessary. Okay, let's read this. As stated in our link, if it is clear that another account is being used for the purpose of evading a ban, it is also subject to suspension. This we know. For government accounts such as POTUS and White House, we will not suspend those accounts, but will take action to limit their use. However, these accounts will be transitioned over to the new administration in due course and will not be suspended by Twitter unless absolutely necessary to alleviate real-world harm. Okay, fine. Twitter executives removed Trump in part over what one executive called the context surrounding actions by Trump and supporters, quote, over the course of the election and frankly last 4+ years. So this is not about what Trump said. This is about what Trump supporters did. And yes, about what Trump did over the last 4 years. In the end, they looked at a broad picture, but that approach can cut both ways. Let's see what this person says. Their name is blanked out. Hi, Vijaya. I'm working with blank on my team to put together a doc to share with you with a point of view from research, ours, academics with whom we have been working, etc. on DJT's language as coded incitement to further violence. In the meantime, here's our quick take. The decision on whether to pull that particular tweet or use that as a last straw for Trump depends on many factors, including 1, the overall context and narrative in which the tweet lives. We currently analyze tweets and consider them at a tweet-by-tweet basis, which does not appropriately take into account the context surrounding. You can use the yelling fire into a crowded theater example. Context matters, and the narrative that Trump and his friends have pursued over the course of this election, and frankly the last 4+ years, must be taken into account when interpreting and analyzing that tweet. 2. The larger question is around our moral imperative and decision as a company, which user sentiment should not drive based on number 1. And I believe his tweet does violate our rules when taking that historical context plus current climate into account. So it's not just his background, it's the current climate, which he may or may not have been responsible for. No one can prove that. It's a great non-provable thesis. The bulk of the internal debate leading to Trump's ban took place in those 3 January days. However, the intellectual framework laid in the months preceding the Capitol riots. Before January 6th, Twitter was a unique mix of automated, rules-based enforcement and more subjective moderation by senior execs. As Barry Weiss reported, the firm had a vast array of tools for manipulating visibility, most all of which were thrown at Trump and others pre-January 6th. As the election approached, senior execs, perhaps under pressure from federal agencies with whom they met more as time progressed, increasingly struggled with rules and began to speak of VIOS. I'm not sure what that is. As pretext to do what they'd likely have done anyway. Let's see if we can get explanation. This is why I like Twitter. Let's see if someone in the comments knows what VIOS means. So Twitter abandoned any false pretense of a standard and went rogue to help Democrats. Yep, looks like it. Impartiality. Yeah, what impartiality looks like. And Elon Musk tweeted this out. He said, perhaps you can spot a subtle bias in how these employees donate to political parties. So they would have banned Trump after inauguration. I don't know what VIOS stands for. I love this picture. This is a good picture. I approve of this meme fully. Here we see a portrait of Elon Musk on the back of a bird, which we can assume, you guys are going to love my breakdown of this meme, we can assume to embody the physical form of the platform Twitter, given its bird-based nature. It is a raven. Ravens are very smart, much smarter than Twitter probably, and I believe Elon is meant to embody the character of Napoleon. I believe that's what this historic painting is. Anyway, let's see if there's more. VIOS. See, I don't know what this is. What does this mean? Yeah, fascinating. Does anybody in the comments know what VIOS means? Let's continue reading. Hopefully you guys can tell me in the comments. After January 6th, internal Slacks show Twitter executives getting a kick out of intensified relationships with federal agencies. Here's Trust and Safety head Yoel Roth lamenting a lack of generic enough calendar descriptions to concealing his very interesting meeting partners. It happens. I'm a big believer in calendar transparency, but I reached a certain point where my meetings became ... very interesting ... to people, and there weren't meeting names generic enough to cover. Anyway, let me know. Very boring business meeting that is definitely not about Trump, winky face. Pretty much. Definitely not meeting with the FBI. I swear. Wow. Well, the left enjoys telling us that this is in fact a private company and what they did with Trump was entirely their own idea. This was all their prerogative. Well, if they're meeting with the FBI, we have some additional questions for them because that just looks like the government working to censor people's speech, especially when the person in question whose speech is being silenced is the sitting president of the United States of America. VIOS, Virtual Input Output Server. Interesting. Fascinating. People coming up with crazy ideas. Veracity of internal synergy. I don't think that's what it is. Vaudeville intensity of slapstick. Thank you, Keenan. Your contributions are greatly appreciated. I don't think that's right, though. All right, let's see if Matt has more for us. I don't see anything else. So we're up to 11 tweets. Let's see. Let's refresh this whole thread and see what we got. This is an interesting thread. Okay, yeah, 12. These initial reports are based on searches for documents linked to prominent executives whose names are already public. They include Roth, former Trust and Policy Chief Vijay Gadde, and recently plank-walked Deputy General Counsel and former top FBI lawyer Jim Baker. So this is something that I don't know that I drove home properly the other day. Jim Baker was the lawyer for the FBI, and then he came under investigation, I believe in 2019, in connection with Russiagate, if I recall correctly. You guys are more than welcome to fact check me on that. But he then moved over to Twitter, which is a really interesting segue from the FBI to Twitter. I don't know if you guys find that startling at all, but I did a little bit, but also not super surprising given what we learned in Truth Cops. So forget about Sam Brinton. Truth Cops, The Intercept. The DHS had plans to police disinformation. That sounds like censorship in collaboration with big tech. The Department of Homeland Security is quietly broadening its efforts to curb speech it considers dangerous. The Intercept did God's work with this one. And I don't care if they're annoyed that, quote, right-wing voices are using it. This is truth, and anyone can use it however they like. You just need to give the proper context. Let's see if we can read this summary. We're not sure if there's any action that can be taken, but we wanted to flag them for consideration, wrote a state official on the email thread, forwarding on the other examples of accounts that could be confused with official government entities. The Twitter representative responded, "We will escalate. Thank you." Each email in the chain carried a disclaimer that the agency neither has nor seeks the ability to remove or edit what information is made available in social media form. That tagline, however, concerns free speech advocates who note that the agency is attempting to make an end run around the First Amendment by exerting continual pressure on private sector social media firms. Exactly. When the government suggests things, it's not too hard to pull off the velvet glove and you get the male fist, said Adam Kandub, a professor of law at Michigan State University. And I would consider such actions, especially when it's bureaucratized, essentially state action and government collusion with platforms. If a foreign authoritarian government sent those messages, noted Nadine Strawson, the former president of the American Civil Liberties Union, there is no doubt we would call it censorship. 100%. All right, let's return to Matt Taibbi's thread and see if we've got any more. I just thought I would re-up that one in you guys' minds because that is such an important article, probably the article of the decade. One particular Slack channel offers a unique window into the evolving thinking of top officials in late 2020 and early 2021. Oh, excuse me, I need a sip. On October 8th, 2020, executives opened a channel called US 2020_XFN_enforcement. I'm not smart enough to figure out what that means. XFN. Let's read this message. Hi, everyone. Blank here. Starting tomorrow, October 9th, until November 15th, this channel will be used for the following reasons related to the US 2020 elections. Trends identified that require scaled investigations, high-profile accounts escalations that potentially require PII/soft interventions, scalable solutions required, edge cases for XFN consultation, highlight tech issues, bugs, tools, outage, gyro tickets. This is an enforcement channel between something and TWS to help speed up our response related to election issues over the coming few weeks. GET will start providing a handover starting APAC shift tomorrow. I don't know what that means. A lot of acronyms here that I'm not familiar with. I wish Andy were here, but he is busy. I think he's still working. Starting tomorrow, Friday, October 9th, using the following template, handover, next shift, blah, blah, blah. Can you please make sure everyone on your team is within this channel? Teams that we have included are as follows: site integrity, SI, safety policy, product trust, safety operations, media ops, global escalation team. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know, blank. Interesting. Through January 6th, this would be home for discussions about election-related removals, especially ones that involved, quote, high-profile accounts, often called VITs, or very important tweeters. Interesting. Oh, my goodness. Well, that is fascinating. I'm really curious where this particular one leads, but I doubt that I will be super surprised by the response. There was at least some tensions between safety operations, a larger department whose staffers used more rules-based process for addressing issues like porn, scams, and threats, and a smaller, more powerful cadre of senior policy execs like Roth and Gade. Interesting. This is a great meme. It's the frog mournfully staring out the window, thinking sometimes I just miss the way he said Jada. Admittedly, I agree. Same boat there. Kermit the Frog, 100%. And here we have Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, and TikTok all fighting each other. And then along comes Twitter, which is the Shiba Inu, affiliated with the Dogecoin, with the horny stick. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, along with Elon Musk and his sink, saying, let that sink in. Fantastic. Good stuff. Good stuff, guys. Let's see if we have more memes. But I don't want to get distracted, but I think this is a beautiful painting of Elon Musk looking out the window of the Mars bar, which is what I'm calling this, on Mars, drinking a drink. I'm sure it's non-alcoholic, with a globe there on the table beside him. Lovely artwork. Appreciate it. It's not a meme, but it's great. Oh, this leftist says nobody gives an F. That is not correct. That is clearly not correct, because Matt Taibbi went from something like, I forget how many Twitter followers he started out with, but he is now over 1 million because lots of people do in fact care about this. Leftists just wish they didn't. Let's scroll down, see if he's got anything new for us. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. So we're down to 15, and that's just where we're hanging out at the moment because Matt is a very slow tweeter. He is faster this time than he was the first time, I think, which good for him. Although maybe because I didn't jump on this as soon as he started, that helped as well. I go through and like these because I do support exactly what Matt is up to. I remember reading Hate Inc. by Matt Taibbi on the way to New Jersey when I got hired at Timcast, which was a very fun memory. That was a very neat time, very interesting stuff happening, and it was great to be part of something like the company when it was very small. It was a very unique experience. Let's see here. Is James Baker still working for Twitter? No, he is not. This we know. He got frog marched out. Yes, shadow campaign. I don't know if you guys remember this article from Time, but it looked like they had done a lot of work and they weren't getting the proper praise for all their hard work. So they just came right out and said it. The secret history of the shadow campaign that saved the 2020 election. Fascinating. But let me see what you guys are thinking. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook merger, UTwitFace. I love it. Good work. Dear Algebra, stop asking us to find your ex. We don't know why either. Fair enough. Good meme. Evolving top of officials is definitely a trans identity thing. No, I don't think that's the case. So why is Dorsey's email pizza.o seems odd? I thought that was interesting as well. I don't know anything about that, and I will not speak to that at all. I just found it kind of fascinating. Let's see. It was the code they used for shadow banning. Interesting. VIOS. I don't think it's virtual input output server. But then again, I do wish... Excuse me, I have the hiccups now. Frustrating. Sorry, guys. All right. Anyway, I think I will let you guys read the rest of this Matt Taibbi thread. There's a lot going on here, and I think it's worth looking into for sure. If you do not follow Matt Taibbi on Twitter, definitely check that out. If you're not on Twitter, you are missing out on a lot of excitement, a lot of drama, a lot of threads just like this. Although, if you follow people like me, you can just have me read you the most important parts of Twitter, and then you get all of the benefit with none of the downside, which seems pretty cool. All right, no super chats. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you all very much for those who do super chat to me. Thank you, St. Miles, the other day. I'm sorry I missed your super chat. I saw it right as I was logging out and ending my stream. Well, I'm really glad that we had an opportunity to look at this most recent Twitter dump from Matt Taibbi. Again, you guys check him out. Taibbi. Taibbi. And you guys should follow him for sure. He's a good journalist and he likes to get into it on Twitter, which I appreciate in my journalists, as long as they aren't openly leftists. Anyway, I am going to go check on my husband and make sure he's not up to no good, as well as the cat, and make sure he has not knocked anything over. Thank you all very much for joining me this evening. Hopefully Matt has more fascinating things to say on Twitter. I'm going to see if I can get a hold of Michael Schellenberger and ask him when he's going to drop this one that he has, just because I do know him on slightly more personal terms than Matt Taibbi since we had him on Timcast. I think that will be interesting, and I will try to cover that thread as it comes out for sure. But until next time, I will see you all. Have a great Friday night. Have a wonderful weekend. I do not think we're going to live stream this week. We got a bunch of stuff we got to do this weekend. Until next time,